Hey class, before you guys get into this video, you can go to the description and jump right to the questions in the description. They're all time-stamped, so check that out. If you are good with the math and you want to skip over some of this intro stuff, go right ahead. See ya! We are going to start looking at decimals. First, we're going to go to page 36 of our book. We're going to look at the questions in page 36, and I want to talk to you guys about why we write decimals the way we do, and what do they mean, and how are they related to fractions, and what do they have to do with place value. So in your book, in the gray section at the top, it takes the fraction 1 over 10, or a tenth, and it says that there's another way to write that. And the way it shows us is it goes 1/10 equals 0.1. Okay, a decimal. Now why, I guess is the question. Why do we write it like this? And how are they related? So they show you a picture of a circle. Okay, we have our circle. We have 10 equal pieces, and our fraction tells us that we're going to shade in one of those pieces. So let's just pick one of those to shade in. So we've shaded in one piece of our pie, 1/10. Now, if we look at the whole pie, 10 over 10, all the pieces equals 1. But we don't have 1, we only have a portion of 1. We only have 1 of the 10 pieces. So that's why the 0 is written. The 0 tells us that we don't have 1, we have 0 whole pies, right? We have 0 whole pies, but we have one piece of a pie, 0.1. A tenth, or a decimal, is another place value. So on page 37, we start to look at, there's a new place value name, and it's called a tenth, right? Same as this. This is 1 over 10, or a tenth. This represents a tenth. This picture is a tenth of a pie. So we know our place values. We have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on and so on. You guys know those. Now on the other side of the decimal, or the ones column, here's the ones column. On the other side of that, after the decimal, we get new place value names. So the first one is called tenths, and it's written just like it sounds, like that. So that's what connects all these things together. We have a new place value called tenths. We're learning how to write it in a new way, in a decimal form, and they're related to each other. So 1 over 10 equals 0.1. It's important to know that before the decimal, over here, this is the ones column. These are all zeros, so you could put in another 0 here and another 0 here. All of these are zeros because we don't have a whole thing yet. Okay, let's jump into the first question. We're looking at how to write this, and then we'll jump over and talk about place values, and we're just going to cruise along. Okay, in our book, question 1A is done for us. We have a circle divided into 10, and 4 of those pieces of pie are shaded, and it gives us 4 over 10, and in the other box it writes it as 0.4. So B and C are going to be the same. We're going to count the shaded parts, and those are going to be our fraction and our decimal. Okay, so I'll do B. I think you guys, this is fairly straightforward. You guys will be able to do C, no problem. So B, which I've drawn here, shows us a picture of 10 pieces. They're all 10. Everything to do with tenths is a pie with 10 pieces. And 2 of those are shaded. So if 2 of the 10 are shaded, you guys already know that that means 2 out of 10. 10 the denominator, total number of pieces. 2 of those pieces are shaded in. And to write that as a decimal from our previous examples, we would write 0.2, right? It's less than a whole, it's less than 1. It's only 2 of the pieces, 0.2. Okay, go on to question number 2. Question number 2 is write the decimal, and it's telling us how, it's basically not giving us a picture, it's just telling us how many pieces are shaded in. So we can look through all of these, and they're all going to be the same. So they've done the first one for us. 5/10 equals 0.5. So you can guess that B 7/10 is going to be 0.7. The next one is going to be 0.6. D is 0.9, and so on and so on. Okay, so the book is helping us just repeat the same thing so we get it in our brain. How do I write a decimal? Now there's a bonus. Bonus is interesting. It says 0/10. How do we write 0/10? Well, if I have a circle and I don't have any pieces shaded, okay, my fraction would be 0 out of 0. Well, it's the exact same way. You would write that as 0.0. So the numerator, okay, the numerator is the 10th. That's where it goes. So the denominator is how many pieces, the numerator, in this case 0, okay, that goes over here into the 10ths column, okay, so 0.0. Question 3, I think is fairly obvious. They're asking you to shade in the decimal that they're showing you. And really, you're just shading in that many pieces of pie. So for question B, 0.8, you're shading in 8 pieces of pie on that circle. And the same goes for the rest of those. That's fairly straightforward. All right, question 4, number lines. Ugh, my goodness. Why do they do this to us, number lines? All right, they're not that difficult. It's just another way of drawing a picture. And what I'd like to do with number lines is I like to turn them into a shape that's a little easier to understand. So let's just take our number line, okay? And our number line goes from 0.0 to 1. So we have 0.0 all the way to 1. Well, how many equal pieces are there in between? Well, there's 10, because we're talking about tenths, okay? So it's always going to be 10. So there's 10 equal pieces. So what I like to do is just pretend that this line is the top of a rectangle. I'm going to draw a shape. I'm going to divide that shape into 10 pieces. I didn't draw big enough, so we'll just draw one here. Okay. I divide it into 10 pieces, and then it asks me to tell us where on the number line, okay, is the decimal. So the first one they've done, they said 0.8 is where on the number line. Well, each of these is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, okay? So really, if you just fill in on the number line those numbers, you'll be able to find those. But when I draw a picture, then I can shade it in. So I can shade in up to 8, or let's do question C. 0.5 of the distance from 0.0 to 1. So where is 0.5? Well, here's 5. So if I shade all these in, 0.5 would be there. Now remember, 0.0, 1.0. All of these numbers, okay, are all 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on, until we get to one whole thing, okay? So it can be a little bit confusing. Number lines are just gross anyway. Don't worry about it. Just think about it as the top of a rectangle. That's the line. And underneath that, if you just draw the rest of the rectangle and fill it in like a cake, like we were doing before with rectangles, it makes it a little bit easier. Page 37 is where they introduce us to a new place value called tenths. Okay? They have this number, they've labeled it, you guys already know all of these, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and like I said before, after the decimal, there's new place values, new names that we have to call them. So we already have tens, so now the new place value is called tenths, okay, and that's what we're talking about for this section. So question 5 is asking us to tell what the underlined digit is. What is the place value? Okay, I think that should be fairly straightforward. You guys know all your place values. So basically the only one you need to remember now is the new one called tenths. So if the number after the decimal is underlined, it's in the tenths column. A they've done for us, so the 2.7, 2 is in the ones column. Let's look at question C, 107.1. So the 1 in that, the underlined 1 is in the tenths column. E, 4,501.8. Well, the 4 is in the thousands column. Thousands, not thousandths. All right, so as long as you guys can remember your place values, which I know you all know, and now this new one, you're not going to have any problem. Question 6 is write the place value of the digit 3 in the number. So first underline the digit 3 and then tell us what the place value is. All right, let's look at a few of these. So you guys should get this no problem. A, 2,361.9. So we underline the 3 and we know it's in the hundreds column. B, 405.3. We underline the 3 and it is after the decimal, so it's in the tenths column. So I think you guys get the gist of that. Find the number 3, underline it, and tell me, the book, what place value it's in. Question 7, they've shown you a chart, and this is just a way to make sure you remember all the place values, and it's just another reminder. So go ahead, fill that chart in. I don't think any of you will have any problem filling this in. Okay, page 38 at the top, the gray section, it wants us to figure out or to answer the question of what is the value of the digits in the number. Okay, the place value tells us the value, place value. So the place value tells us what the value is of each number. So that's why we'll go through the list. So that's why the 2 in this number, it's in the thousands column. So its place value is 1,000. So that means this number is, the value of it is 2,000. Okay, if you take that out of there, it's worth 2,000 because it's in the thousands column. Let's continue. The 8 is in the hundreds column, so that means its value is 800. The 3 is in the tens column, so its value is 30. 3 times 10, 30. And the 6 is in the ones column, so its value is 6. What's the value of this number? Well, now, if we just take away the rest of these and we leave ourselves with this 0.5, okay, remember we write it as 0.5 so we don't get confused. If we're left with this number, the previous pages tell us that this number equals this fraction. 5 out of 10. So that means the value of the tenths column is 5 over 10. It's a fraction of a whole thing. So these are all the values, and this is the value of the 0.5. Okay, so this is probably the first time you're seeing this way. So just remember that the value of the 0.5 is always this number over 10. Always. Okay, let's go on to the questions. We'll do them. Question number 8A. So they were nice to us. They did the hard one, 7 tenths. So 654.7. They told us this is worth 7 tenths. So the 4, they want you to put in what is the value. Well, the value of 4 is 4. The value of the 5, it's in the tens column, so it's 50. And the value of the 6, it's in the hundreds column, so it is 600. Okay, and the value of that they've told us is 7 over 10. Okay, let's look at the next one. 823.1. All right, we'll start with the 8 first. It is in the hundreds column, so it is worth 800. The 2 is in the tens column, so it is worth 20. The 3 is in the ones column, so it's just worth 1. It's worth 3. How do we get these numbers? Let's stop for a second and review. 8, it's in the hundreds column. 8 times 100 is 800. 2, it's in the tens column. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 is in the ones column. 3 times 1 is 3. And now, 0.1 is in the tenths column, so we take this number and we put it over 10 to get its value. Same goes for question C. I think you guys got the gist of it. All right, let's look at question number 9. What value does the digit 7 have in the number? So now they want the value. What's the number worth? So we take the place value, whatever that is, and we multiply it by 7. So if the 7's in the tens column, it's going to be 70. If it's in the ones column, it's going to be 7. If it's in the thousands column, it's going to be 7,000. If it's in the hundreds column, it's going to be 700. And if it's in the tenths column, it's going to be 7 over 10. That is all you need to know for that question. But let's look at a couple. Let me erase my board. Give it a good little erase there. Let's look at, let's do the middle line. So E, F, G, H. All right. So in E, the 7 is in the tenths column. So it is going to be worth, its value is 7 over 10. F, the 7 is in the ones column. So 7 is going to be worth 7. Ooh, G again, 7 is in the tenths column. So again, it's going to be 7 over 10, 7 tenths. And in H, it's in the hundreds column. So it's going to be worth 700. Awesome. Question 10. A is done for you in the number 1969.5. The digit 6, which is in the tens column, stands for 60. I'm going to do B and C because B and C are worded differently, but they're asking us the same thing. In the number 5,873.2, the digit 3 stands for, it's in the ones column, so it stands for 3. Okay? Now question C says, in the number 7,451.3, the value of the digit 7 is, so they want us to tell them the same thing, the value. Well, what place value is it in? It's in the thousands column. It's in the thousands place value. So 7 times 1,000 is 7,000. The same goes for D and E. They're asking you the value. Now in F, G, and H, F says in the number 9,201.4, the digit blank is in the ones place. So basically you find the ones column and write the digit in, meaning the single digit. So the 1 is in the ones place. In the number 3,495.6, the digit blank is in the hundreds place. Well, 3,400, so 4 is the digit that's in the hundreds place, so the number 4. So be careful when they're asking you what the digit is and what the value of the digit is. Okay, two separate things that can be a little confusing. So the value is always asking, it has to do with the place value. But the digit is just the single digit where it is. So the 4 is in the hundreds place. And the last one, in the number 6,467.5, the digit blank is in the tenths place. Well, what digit is in the tenths place? It comes after the decimal, and it is the digit 5. Review those pages, make sure you understand tense. Go on and do pages 39 and 40, and we will see you soon. Have a great day, guys.